It was a devastating loss on many levels for Kentucky. That was Westwood One of the NCAA radio network on your call. Obviously, Cal after the game. Look, this is the worst loss in Coach Cal's history. There's no doubt. And he's had some bad March flameouts, but there's never been anything as ugly as this. And this is the worst loss in Kentucky's tournament history. And if you consider the tournament to be the most significant part of your season no matter what, then you could make the argument this is the single worst loss in Kentucky basketball history. This was a Peacocks team as a 15 seed who really didn't belong in this game. They really didn't. They really didn't belong in this game, and they get all the credit in the world because they somehow bamboozled Kentucky, but there's really no reason that should have happened. Think about Kentucky's resume here. They thrashed North Carolina by 30 points this season. They beat Tennessee, a 3 seed, by 30 points in January. They went to Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse and dominated the Jayhawks, who are a 1 seed, by nearly 20 points. They played and competed in one of the most dynamic conferences this year in the SEC that featured a number of elite teams and high seeds ultimately in the tournament. And they lost to a 15. In the history of the 2-15 going into last night, the 15 seed was 9-135. 9 wins, 135 losses in the 2-15 matchup going into last night. Kentucky was a 17-point favorite in this game. Again, every coach, assistant coach on Calipari's staff makes more than Shaheen Holloway, St. Peter's head coach. So what was the difference? Well, if you heard Holloway after the game with Jamie Erdahl, she said, something about the upset and pulling off a shocker. And he's like, why would I be surprised? It's just basketball. So the message from up above was, you guys belong. You guys can do anything. That might say Kentucky, but it doesn't really matter. We're just playing basketball. And clearly St. Peter's believed it because right out of the chute, they competed with Kentucky, and it was a nip-and-tuck game early. Cal had also cited after the game that he felt like they never played fast and loose. And I think that's because St. Peter's was playing punch for punch early, and that rattled the Wildcats. That when you're the 2 seed, you expect to go out there and roll over the competition. Then when you find yourself kind of caught in a nip-and-tuck battle, every possession becomes a little nerve-wracking. And that very clearly happened last night. Also, how this happens is anybody's guess, but St. Peter's goes to zone, and then suddenly Kentucky, the wheels come off, and they don't know how to somehow make their way through the zone, which should never happen, but it did happen. And there were just a number of wasted possessions and blown, opportunities by the offense. Severe Wheeler of the Wildcats had a really, really rough game, and you could only wonder if maybe the injury earlier in the season really affected him. But Wheeler was off the mark all night long and just got blown by defensively a couple of times. And what happened last night was made even worse because Kentucky has perhaps the best player in basketball. I mean, he's probably going to win the Naismith Player of the Year, and you can't beat a 15 seed with the best player in college basketball in Tshiebwe. So think about how embarrassing that is last night, and he was terrific. He put together a really big night for them, but ultimately it didn't matter. He had 16 rebounds and 30 points. Tshiebwe did his part, but offensively, the rest of Kentucky just totally slowed down, And it was St. Peter's offense that did it. They shot 50%. Do you ever think you would see a 15 seed shoot 51% from the field against a 2? They were 9 of 17 from beyond the arc, and the differential at the free throw line was crushing for Kentucky. St. Peter's went 18 of 21 from the free throw line. Meantime, Kentucky missed 6 free throws in OT. Wheeler committed 6 turnovers. 6. I mean, it was just a cavalcade of mistakes and disasters by the Wildcats. And after last year's really difficult season where they were sub 500, missed the tournament, and Kentucky fans wondered, has all the magic worn off from Coach Cal? They follow that up with a 2 seed, and you're like, okay, Cal's got this train back on the tracks. And then you lose in this fashion, and you go back and say, he's not the right guy, that all the Cal magic is gone. Note that Calipari's not won a national championship at Kentucky since 2012. So now we're a decade removed from the Anthony Davis year. And that's a freaking long time in Kentucky land to go between national championships and really not feeling quite like you once were with all of that stacked talent and kind of romping through the SEC. That Auburn caught up. Auburn's a 2 seed. Tennessee was very good this year. They're a 3 seed. Kentucky was a 2 seed, and the first team exiting out of the SEC is the Wildcats. This is by far the worst loss of Cal's career. This is the worst tournament loss in Kentucky's program history, and this is probably the worst loss in Kentucky's entire program history, wall to wall, which is just incredible that it happened last night. Some credit to St. Peter's. I mean, they just stared Kentucky in the eye, and they didn't flinch. Shaheen Holloway clearly just gave them that kind of DNA roadmap. This is a school nicknamed the Peacocks in Jersey City. You know, I got to be honest. I've driven through Jersey City before. I ain't never seen a peacock anywhere around there. And they play in an arena called Run Baby Run Arena. Yes. Run Baby Run Arena, home of the Peacocks out of the MAC. That's the MAC with 2 A's. The Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, the MAC. It's just so marchy. It's the most marchy moment of all time that the Peacocks of Jersey City from Run Baby Run Arena beat the Kentucky Wildcats in a 2-15. It's the most marchiest march of all marchy things. It's the first really crazy outcome of the tournament. And, you know, what did I say on, I guess it was Wednesday, maybe it was yesterday's show, but we come out of Selection Sunday, and you had both Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis, both of whom I think do a really good job, both picking Gonzaga versus Arizona. And then Gonzaga-Arizona was the heavy, popular pick from most experts. And I'm just thinking, there's just no way that this year's tournament just sets up with the 2 top seeds, the 2 best teams of the country, just cruising right through and making the national championship. Somebody's going to upset the apple cart. Now, I do have Gonzaga winning the whole thing, but I don't think Arizona gets there. And Gonzaga was my only 1 seed to get to the Final Four. Now, full disclosure, I had Kentucky going to the Final Four as well. But I just don't think this is a chalky NCAA tournament. And I think that's because dynamics in college basketball have changed quite dramatically. You know, Kentucky has even realized the value of being experienced. Cal has for years said one and done's the best talent, go from here to the NBA in 1 year. We don't care. We're just collecting 5-star recruits. And that nipped him in NCAA tournaments recently because the disparity between the best schools and the lower schools has been squashed. The transfer portal's done that quite a bit. And so now experience, you know, you've got high major talent at a lot of mid-major schools. So a high major guy that was recruited to a Big Ten school that ends up at a A10 school, now you have Big Ten talent at mid-majors. And it's now he's staying 4 years instead of leaving as one and done. And so what would you rather have? A guy who's a 4-star high school recruit that originally played in the ACC but now plays in the West Coast Conference but is there for 4 years, or a 5-star kid who's at his school for 1 semester. That evens things out quite a bit. So even Cal went experience. Even Cal said we don't need just one and dones. He had experience on this roster. He had some super seniors and a lot of juniors. And ultimately, that's why I don't think that you're going to see chalk in this tournament. I do not think you're going to see those 1 seeds just roll right into the Final Four. And I think you're going to see some really quirky, weird, bizarre outcomes like we saw yesterday. I mean, 2 5-12s and Kentucky are both gone. Okay, that's the first day of the tournament.